Hello, students. Good morning. I hope you had a great weekend. It's a brand new day and a brand new week. So, this week, I hope we're going to have a very good time in mathematics. I hope you understood clearly everything we learned last week. We looked at review of the units of length, review of the units of volume, and the review of the units of the third one is length, mass. Oh, mass. Yes. Review of the units of mass. Okay. All right. So today again, we're going to have a review. Let's just have a review again. It's lesson 11 and unit 3, and we're going to look at measuring length. Let's have a review on it. I know by now you already have your student books and your workbooks with you. Yeah, because you know it's math time. Okay, now let's see our lesson objective. Now, you can see the lesson objective. The objective is for unit 3, 4, and 5, right? Yes, that's because we've been looking at 3 units: length, mass, and volume, right? So we're just going to be looking briefly again at each of them, and we'll look at how to identify the most suitable units for measuring different objects. For example, if I just take a look at an object, I should be able to tell the best units to measure that object. For example, a glass of milk. Looking at a glass of milk, what unit of measurement would I use to measure it? Is it the unit for length? Is it the unit for mass? Or the unit for volume or capacity? Which one is best suitable? Remember when we said last week that we use volume for measuring contents, that's liquid things in liquid form or semi-liquid form. So what does that tell you? It means that the best way to measure that glass of milk will be in correct volume. Yes, that's correct. All right, let's go ahead. At the end of this lesson, I'm sure we'll be able to do much more, okay? Now, do you remember the units of length? Remember we talked about millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. And I gave you the short one for it. I said MCMK. So when you remember the units of length, what comes to your mind? MCMK. That helps you to be able to remember quickly millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. It's only the unit of length that has 4 units. The other 2 have just 2, and it's easy to remember those ones. Now let's look at this object. We have a book, a coin, a car, and like a road or a distance, like a journey. Now, what unit of length is best to measure these items? What units of length is best to measure them? Let's look at the book. What unit of length do you think is best to measure a book? We said last week that millimeters measures tiny things. Centimeters measures things that are a little bit bigger. And meters measures larger objects. Kilometers is for distance and roads. So for the length of the book, which of the units of length is best to measure? Correct, centimeters. You can measure it with your ruler, right? Yeah, so centimeters is quite okay to measure the length of a book. What about a coin? Look at a coin, compare it to a book. Is it not tiny? Yeah, it's so tiny. So to measure a coin, we don't even need to use centimeters. What do we use? Great job, millimeters. Yeah, millimeters, because a coin is tiny and we don't need centimeters to measure a coin. Let's look at a car. A car is quite large. Okay, now you can use your ruler to measure your book, but can you use your ruler to measure a car? No. So what do? We measure that in meters. We have there's something like a tape measure. It's a longer one. It's used usually for measuring long objects or bigger objects like a field and so on. So that's that's particular instruments. Yeah, the instrument is used for measuring bigger objects. Okay, so we measure a car in meters. What about a journey? Oh, of course, now you know the only thing that kilometer does is measures journey and roads, journeys and distance between two roads. All right, so don't forget this. The units of length: meters, millimeters, centimeters, and kilometers. So you don't use these units to measure in volume or capacity or in mass. Okay, so now I think we understand this, right? Okay, let's go to the next. This is lesson 11 and unit 4. Here we're going to look at the review of measuring mass. We just looked at length, so let's look at mass. It's still student book page 201. That's the next page. Now remember the units of mass? That was where we talked about grams and kilograms. Now let me tell you the easiest way to always remember when you go to the grocery and you pick up fruits or you pick up items and then you have to take it to someone to put the price on it. It's because the person puts it on a scale like the one you see on the screen, a measuring scale. It measures the grams or the kilograms. Do you see that berry that you have on the picture? You see it's measuring 7 grams because it's so little. So it measures 7 grams. Okay, then the printer is going to print out the grams and then they stick it on your plastic bag, and then you can take it to the cashier who is going to, take the money from you. So let's look at the items we have: a pack of chips, we have oranges, we have teaspoon of sugar or salt, and we have a bag of rice. Now for the pack of chips, what do you think we can measure in? It's so light. Remember we said that we measure in we measure mass in what what we use when we measure mass is looking at what is heavy and what is light. How heavy is it or how light it is? Okay, so let's look at the chips. You eat chips every day in the class. Okay, is it light or is it heavy? So probably this chips is going to have a weight of like maybe 2 grams or something, or 2.5 grams or something. Oh, I said the answer already. So the pack of chips, what's the best unit of measurements in mass? Is grams. What about the basket of oranges? Do you think it should be heavier? Sure, it will be heavier. So we measure that in kilograms because that's a bigger unit. Kilograms is a bigger unit. It's heavy, so it has to use kilograms. Teaspoon of salt or teaspoon of sugar, is it heavy? It's so light. So do you measure in grams or kilograms? Great job. You measure in grams. Now look at this Dynasty Jasmine rice. It's top quality jasmine rice. What do you think we will measure in? Is it in grams or in kilograms? In fact, you can see it's showing the net weight already. It's saying 9.07 kilograms because it's going to be heavy. Yeah, so it's going to be measured in kilograms and not grams. Grams for light objects, kilograms for heavier objects. All right, let's go to the next. It's lesson 11 and unit 5. This time around, of course, the last one we have is volume or capacity. Volume or capacity. And you remember the units of volume. We looked at liters and milliliters. Milliliters. Liters and milliliters. Okay? Now, let's look at gas that you get from a gas station and you get into a car. Milliliters is a small unit of measurement. Liters is a larger unit of measurement. If you're buying gas in a car, do you think that you're going to buy in milliliters or in liters? Even on the screen of the pump, you already have, the next time you go with dad or mom to get gas into the car. Now look at the screen and see where it reads liters. It's going to measure the liters. It will show you how many liters is running, and it will also show you the price for each liter. Okay, so to get gas in a car, it is measured in liters and not in milliliters, because milliliters is little. Okay, a can of soda, I get Coca-Cola, Fanta, Sprite, Pepsi, any one of them. Okay, I think you probably might have, not so healthy though, but you probably might have one in your fridge. Go check it out and see what you have in it. You're likely to have milliliters. It's either going to write 50 milliliters or about 150 milliliters. Okay, so looking at it, it's going to measure milliliters and not meters, because not liters rather, because the content is little, is not up to something you can have in liters. Okay, what about when you go to the hospital and you're given syrup? Then you're given something like a syringe to be able to get the syrup out of the bottle and use it. Do you notice that the syringe is always having numbers on it? Now, if you have one, go and check it. You're going to see it's reading ml, milliliters. That's because the content you have to take is in milliliters. Okay, so the contents in a syringe is measured in milliliters. What about a big can of milk? That is really a big can. So will that be in milliliters? Of course not. It's going to be measured in liters. So now look around, okay? Look around the house and look at some items in length, in mass, and in volume. And estimate, just have an idea of what you think, the unit of measurements you think it can be measured in. Okay, this will help you to be able to get used to the units of measurements, and you'll be able to master it. All right, so what did we learn today? We did units 3, 4, and 5 already. Great job. What did we learn today? We've been able to learn the most suitable units to measure in length. Remember, most suitable unit to measure in length, either millimeters, centimeters, kilometers, or meters. Then the most suitable units to measure in mass as well. That's why we had the chips. We also had the we had some other thing, the rice. Okay, so the most suitable unit to measure in mass, whether in kilograms or grams. Okay, and finally we were able to learn the most suitable unit to measure in volume. Volume is quantity. Okay, that's capacity. All right, so we've been able to learn so much today, and that's a great job on our part. Now you practice your student book 200 to 201. Do the exercise and send it to me. Then the workbook is just page 189. Just look at the items and look at the best unit of measurement you can use to measure them. And with that, we come to the end of the lesson. Thank you very much for your attention and your time. You have any questions, send them to me on Class Dojo. Remember to send your your student book and workbook as well. Remember to keep yourself safe, wash your hands, sanitize as much as you can, eat healthy foods, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Bye.